I'm Joan Markwell, and I'm from Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. And I've had the misfortune of outliving my daughter. And in going through this tremendous grieving process, I have found comfort with others that have also survived their children. So in an effort to pay tribute to our children and to bring a better understanding of our grief journey to so many others, 4 of us have written the book to soften the grief, to educate and inform all of those who know of a bereaved parent in their lives, or we can relate to as another bereaved parent, to help everyone better manage this trauma. Her name was Cindy. She was a daughter, a mother, a sister, a granddaughter, and so much more to so many more. She loved life. She lived life to the fullest. She could transfer from president of the Chamber of Commerce to boots and horses in a saddle in a flash. She was always up for a challenge. And when she walked into a room, she owned it. She was my dream little gal. She won a lot of battles, but the one she couldn't beat was cancer. She lost that battle, and with that, I became a different person. The most unexpected thing that happened to me after losing my daughter was seeing the person I was disappear, and then seeing this new being arrive. I was always in control. I was always in control, strong, and now I have become this whiny, erratic, oversensitive, over-emotional being. I can't recognize myself anymore, although I am becoming more and more like my old self. Unfortunately, I didn't know how to deal with this being, nor did a lot of my friends and family. Consequently, a lot of them shrank away from me. And over time, I made new friends. Some of these friends were like me, bereaved mothers. And it was them that I turned to for support and understanding. I want to reach out to those who have a bereaved mother in their life, that by reading our book, they can gain some knowledge to help them support the bereaved mothers in their lives. We can give them some tools that we're now aware of that can make that journey a little more easier for the next bereaved parent. Well, I think seeing this new me was something that I didn't understand, so how could they understand? So, and continuing to be the old me is a constant struggle. Some days I'm okay, the next day I'm not. It's like something will happen or someone will say something, and then you find yourself pushed back into this introverted ball. Friends that I thought would be there for me weren't. And then friends and family that I didn't think about being there for me, including new ones, were there to help me and support me. This is just a new way of life that you have to adjust to. And it seems like the more you reach out to other bereaved mothers, the more you can understand that you're not the only crazy one out there, that we all have a common crazy link. And so we gravitate toward each other more, I think, to help each other. And with this book, again, that's what we want to do. We want to reach out to those mothers and those people that are in their support system and close to them, so that they can better understand what support they need to make them a more old themselves, or more like the old person they were. I think in the process of writing this book and talking to so many bereaved mothers that cover such a spectrum, that no matter the religion, no matter the faith, no matter the nationality, it doesn't matter. We're all in the same pool of mothers who have lost their children. And it's a common bond. It stretches over any other criteria, because we're all mothers out there. And so we can all understand this, where we may not be able to relate to whether you're an atheist or you couldn't have got through this without your church. There are no boundaries to the love of our children. So it's a common denominator that no matter who you are, where you are, what you are, you know where we are as those mothers who have outlived their children. I think having outlived our children, as mothers, we become like the inflatable air dancers, you know, those wavy guys that are just going in every direction. It's like everything that made us who we were has been sucked out of us. So we're left with our limbs and our bodies going in this direction and then that direction, not knowing why, but just being pushed and pulled where we go. There's just so little of us left that really wants to push forward. When we lost my niece, Missy, in a car accident, I thought that I knew how my brother and his wife felt. Until I lost my own daughter, Cindy, I knew I didn't have a clue. I couldn't understand at that time the people they became while dealing with this unimaginable grief. And I realized how insignificant, or how little I knew of how to help them. And there are so many of us that say or do things unintentionally that make the grief journey a little harder for the mother. And there are so many ways that what we say or do can be turned around into a more positive way to help support them. And with this book, there is much advice in there to give us ways to better react to situations where we're made uncomfortable or we make others uncomfortable. And there are a lot of different reactions and responses you can give to a bereaved mother that will make her feel more comfortable and feel warmer because you care and you do want to be there for her. The 4 mothers who wrote this book together have a goal, 1, of paying tribute to our children, and number 2, having gone through this grief journey, to be able to help all the other bereaved mothers out there, as well as give advice and support to those who are close to them and love them. So many times things are said and done unintentionally, and we need to make sure that the grief journey can be shared together to make it better for both parties. I don't think that I will ever be 100% the old me. And I realize that I need my friends and family in my life, and I want them to be there for me, and I want to be there for them. So, by reading our book, I think that we can all be there for each other. In other words, if you let us show you the way, then you can show us the way. I think we all just need a gentle push in the direction to keep us all going in the right way during this trauma. And we want you to be there for us. And we want to be there with you in our lives. But we know that you need to better understand how to do that. So this will be your chance to get those tips from those of us who have seen firsthand how it feels to lose their child.
I'm Janie Fields, and I'm from Nicholasville, Kentucky. I wanted to become a part of this book because I didn't know any close mothers that had lost their children that were close in proximity or close in my feelings for them. And I needed to find out exactly how everybody else was feeling, because I thought I'd lost my mind, to be quite honest. There's not 2 minutes out of 10 that I don't think about my daughter, but I know nobody else was. And I felt very alone, and hated to be so isolated from everybody after this. Missy was my 3rd child, my only daughter. She was in college. She wanted to work with at-risk children. She was a giver. She loved animals. She loved people. And her smile would absolutely radiate the whole room. She was coming to a family dinner for Mother's Day, and someone hit her car, and subsequently she lost her life. About a year and a half before that accident, my son went to Iraq, and he was having the family meeting with us. The family meeting was to what if something were to happen, what we would be prepared to do, what would happen in that process. And I jumped up from the table and I said, I don't want to know any of this, because moms don't bury their children. You all have to decide this for me one day. And my daughter jumped right up in my face and said, oh no, Mom, you need to listen to this, because we all want the same things and handled the same way. And one of those things was they wanted their organs donated. That was a big deal with Missy. She had been an advocate since she was 16. So I sat there and I listened to my brave little daughter. not knowing that soon I would have to say the words, choose a donor if possible. She was able to, because of the accident and the way it happened, she was only able to donate her corneas, tissues, bone, and bone marrow, and a few other things to enrich lives. 2 people we know of that now have sight that did not have any sight. And that helps a lot. That makes me feel like others know how much she mattered, not just me. By having 2 older brothers, she was tough. She was a tomboy. And there wasn't anything they could do that she couldn't do better. But yet she was a young lady making a difference in the world, or would have made a difference in the world. Early on in my grief, I realized that it's hard enough for people walking down the hall from you in your office to look you in the eye and say, "How are you?" Because they don't really want to know, because this is a frightening thing for them. You know, it could happen to them. So instead of spilling my guts that just set them into a spin, I would say, "I'm fine." But fine to me, and still to this day, most of them don't know, means I'm frustrated, I'm irritated, I'm numb, and I'm exhausted. Grieving is the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. It's constant, and it's forever. It's who I am now. But fine makes it a little bit more tolerable, because I'm kind of laughing saying, "You all don't have a clue how fine I am." Fear. That's a new thing in my life that I didn't ever think I would be experiencing. After losing my daughter, I felt isolated from others, and most of it was on my doing, because I couldn't communicate with the other people anymore. I was different. I struggled all the time with, should I call somebody to come and talk to me, or no, it's just too hard. I don't want to disturb them, so I isolated. I became more fearful of relationships with other women or men, you know, whatever. My husband and I, we stopped having people over. And then another big fear of mine was that my 2 boys would feel left out, because everything concentrated on Missy. We all cried every day. We sent emails talking about Missy. Everything was Missy. And not only did I live in the fear of isolating and keeping people away from me, I was scared that I was going to do the same thing with my sons. When people find out that you're a bereaved mother, and before, I want to tell them the story, the death story. I want them to feel maybe a little bit of what I felt. But now I'm ready to say, yes, I lost my daughter, and move on with the conversation. I don't stop there anymore. The fear that others have when you do tell them, they turn it around and they make it about them. They say, "Gee, I can't imagine that happening." No, neither can we. I never thought I'd be in this boat, and I thought I would die instantly. It doesn't work like that. When you've got children and others that depend on you and love you, they can't take another horrible thing happening in their life. After this tragedy, I found that we had a lot of people in professional roles that we should cling to, or we feel like we should cling to after this accident and what has happened to us and changed us so much. But unfortunately, they're not equipped. Physicians, clergy, And that, again, changes you. Faith has always been a big part of my life. And I didn't really lose my faith, I lost aspects of my faith. It's not right when someone tells you that your daughter's time was up or her number was picked. That's not how it happens. You can't dwell on things like that, but unfortunately, being in the state of mind that most of us mothers go into after losing a child, we think, well, what did we do? How did we fail them? Because all of our life, from the moment they're conceived, we feel this urgency to always protect them and take care of them. I had a lot of frustration, and I tried throwing a coffee pot, even hit a window, didn't break, didn't feel any relief. The anger is a very big part of grief. And my husband kind of made the comment, I think maybe you better find something to throw instead of coffee pots. So it came to me to throw eggs. Nobody gets hurt, it's outside, and I live out in the country. The creatures would enjoy a fresh egg. So I began throwing eggs, and as weird as it sounds, when you feel that egg leave your hand, frustrations leave, anger leaves. If only for a moment, at least I've got a break. At least I've got a break from that terrible feeling. Well, I think I've made a big crossover, so to speak, writing this book with my 3 friends and then, of course, Joni. Like Joan mentioned, I have now seen the light that I can tell the life story of Missy, not just the death story. And I think by me talking and working so diligently with these 3 women and how they handled grief, because it's all the same but it's different, I've been able to make this change. I think that it has probably brought me even more peace and compassion than I had before. I don't usually get angry. That's just never been a part of my persona. I've always been pretty easy to get along with and move on down. But after experiencing all the grief and the anger and the feelings of loneliness for my daughter, I think I finally made it by working on this book not to feel those so much, so intently now. I think that this book will help others that are close to bereaved mothers, that are bereaved fathers, because fathers always grieve differently than mothers do. Not that they're not hurt just the same, but they just do. That's just part of their makeup. But if they read this book, I believe that they would understand us as mothers better than they had before. Because even though it's our spouse or our children that we're talking with, we don't bear everything. And in this book we have. We've really gotten down to what hurts and what helps. I think this book will help clergy. I think it will help physicians. I can't imagine it not helping, because somewhere in your life you're going to have a person that has lost their child and you need to console.